You're watching Satluj TV News. I'm Angus Scott in London. A Sri Lankan jail witnessed a rare moment of accord last year when both prisoners and guards clamoured to greet its newest inmate, the man who toppled the island nation's president. Student leader Wasantha Muda-lige remains lionised by many for channeling public anger at an unprecedented economic crisis into a movement that shook the foundations of Sri Lanka's political system. At the height of last summer's unrest, he helped spearhead a siege of government buildings in Colombo that saw once-loved Premier Gotabaya Rajapaksa chased into humiliating exile. The 29-year-old spent months behind bars on terror charges for his efforts. Mudalige said his incarceration was a necessary sacrifice in the unfinished battle to reform Sri Lanka's political system. Now, free on bail, he said lingering economic woes have left Sri Lanka bristling with discontent, frustrated with its new president and ready for another revolt. As head of the Inter-University Students' Federation at the time, Mudalige stood at the forefront of last year's street protests. Alongside him was a broad coalition of saffron-robed Buddhist monks, minority activists and ordinary citizens outraged by government corruption and mismanagement of the island's worsening economic tailspin. However, Mudalige was snatched off the streets by police a month after the protests and spent 167 days in custody. The most serious charges against him were eventually dropped after Amnesty International and other rights groups condemned his jailing. Rajapaksa's successor, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has sought to restore Sri Lanka's ruined finances with an International Monetary Fund bailout that commits his administration to an austerity programme. The chronic food and fuel shortages that inflamed public anger last year have since ended as the government reined in public spending. But steep tax hikes and the end of generous subsidies on electricity and fuel have been deeply unpopular. And Mudalige has now warned the public's frustrations over the spiralling cost of living would inevitably bring people back to the streets, unbowed by the threat of violence. Wickremesinghe says the reforms are necessary to bring Sri Lanka out of bankruptcy and restore economic growth to the country. You've been watching Satluj TV News, and you can find more stories in detail on our channel, that's Satnet News, so it's worth clicking on that subscribe button to make sure you get to see stories as they're broadcast. And don't forget, if you have any comments or opinions on any of our news stories, you can comment below, or indeed drop us a direct message at message@satlujtv.com, and we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, thanks for watching. For Satluj TV News, I'm Angus Scott in London.